Hello everyone and welcome back to the Peak Nutrition Podcast. So today we are going to talk about time-saving nutrition hacks. So as you might be able to tell from this handy little badge behind me, I'm tuning in from Liverpool today. Very well travelled recently. So I'm actually up in my girlfriend's home and she's from Liverpool. So yeah, none of my stuff's gone missing at the minute, but we'll keep an eye on it. So given the topic of the podcast, I don't want to waste any more of your time. So as I said, we are going through some time-saving nutrition hacks today, and I've split it into two categories. So first up, we've got some concepts and techniques you might want to use, and then the second half are five actual food options, because I'm really good to you like that. So we'll start off with the techniques. So the first thing that I like to use with my clients sometimes is some meal prep services. Now, this kind of comes with the trade-off that often it is more expensive. You're paying for that convenience. But if you are someone who really doesn't have the time, you lack inspiration, then the meal prep options can be a really great tool, and I would definitely encourage you to consider it. The second one that kind of follows on from that is online shopping. Now, with online shopping, there's quite a few advantages to this. So you can just copy and paste your meals if you planned it out and wrote a bit of a grocery list. You can also save a list. So if something worked really well one week, you can just copy and paste that over for another week. And then there is also the other advantage that you're not faced with all the temptation when you're walking around shops. Obviously, they're trying to make as much money out of you as possible. So there's all these little hacks that they use to make you buy as much as they can. Whereas if you're shopping online, you're avoiding all of that little extra temptation and grabbing those few extra bits, especially at the checkout where they've got all the chocolate bars, which gets me every bloody time. Tip number 3 is planning your meals. I feel like this is probably the highest return on investment behaviour that you can apply within nutrition. So that's spending a few minutes just writing down what you're going to have. You think about any commitments that you've got coming up that week, and then you can plan accordingly for this. Given that you know exactly what meals you're having, you know exactly what foods to buy, you're always going to have everything in stock, and you're going to avoid that emergency trip to the supermarket. So for every few minutes you spend planning, you're actually saving yourself so much time later in the week. Tip number 4 is then batch cooking. So if you're going to the effort of cooking, you may as well cook up quite a few portions, because it's not really it's minimal extra time to double up. So yeah, batch cooking, freezing some up, getting some leftovers, whether you put them in the freezer or take them for lunch the next day, just getting a few portions out of each time you cook. Now, some people call it the cook once, eat multiple times strategy, but that is just a pretentious way of saying batch cooking. Now, the final technique or concept for you is one pot meals. This is things like stews, casseroles, bakes that you can just chuck in one hit and then just walk away from it. You can add a whole nother layer to this with a slow cooker. If you're a bit of an appliance, kitchen gadget kind of person, slow cookers are such a great tool, because you can just chuck it in the morning. By the time you get home, you've got a meal ready to go. It's not like some other meals where you have to stand intensively over the pots and pans, sort of adjusting things, worrying about timing. So like I said, my best ones for that would be, casseroles, chilies, even some stir fries. Yeah, those are all really great options. Then moving on to some actual foods you can buy. It's probably the potentially more practical side of this. So tip number 6 is frozen fruit and veg. I'd often would try and encourage you to go for the mixed options. So you are just getting a bit more variety, because we know with fruit and veg that variety is so important, because they've the different colours, the different varieties. I don't know why I keep saying variety, but they've all got different vitamins and minerals. So yeah, the more different colours you can get in, the better. So those frozen options are so handy for that. There was a bit of an old concern that frozen fruit and veg reduces the vitamin and mineral content, but this has actually been quite well disproven. Most of the evidence actually suggests they've got higher nutrient content, because they are picked and frozen at the time when they're most ripe. So you're locking in all those nutrients, and the freezing process doesn't really seem to have much of an impact. And if it does, it's so small that it's not worth worrying about. So I would definitely encourage you to keep some frozen options. Plus, if we're trying to look at our environmental impact, obviously there's less wastage, because you're just going to be using exactly what you need for that specific meal. and you're not going to have to throw away all the rotten stuff. Tip number 7 is pretty similar. Tip number 7 is salad packs. So these are those pre-chopped options. You can just chuck them in, add them as an accessory to like sandwiches, wraps, or just chuck some on the side of whatever meal you're having. Salad packs are such a great tool for increasing variety as well. So yeah, definitely worth considering. Tip number 3 is pre-cooked proteins. Often the protein element of a meal is quite time consuming. You have to carefully chop it, follow specific cooking instructions. So if time really is of the essence, those pre-cooked things like chickens, tofu, even the sliced stuff. As with most things here, you are paying for that convenience. It's not as cheap as if you were to buy a chicken breast and cook it yourself, but it's so much handier. You can eat it on the go, and if you're running late, you can just chuck it all on a plate, especially if you combine it with one of those salad kits. They can be so handy. Tip number 9 is your jar and packet sauces. Now this could be quite controversial given that everyone online is telling you that processed foods are shit, but this is such a narrow-minded view, because if a pre-cooked sauce can facilitate a meal that's got plenty of veg, plenty of protein, maybe some whole grains, then that's definitely a positive trade-off. In an ideal world, maybe everyone would sit down and make their own sauce, but most of my clients, and I'm sure most of you, are people where time is of the essence. So when we look at a meal as a bigger picture, it's definitely a positive trade-off if a packet or jar sauce allows you to have a health-seeking meal. Tip number 10 is a personal favourite of mine, and it's the microwave high-protein soups. Now, when I'm in New Zealand, the brand's Watties. I think everywhere else it's Heinz, because obviously New Zealand's a bit different. They are the plant-based ones because they've got I think they tend to have lentils, black beans, things like that. But you're getting a decent hit of protein. All you're having to do is chuck it in the microwave. If you really fancy, you can add like a bread roll to it. But yeah, microwave protein soups have been an absolute game changer for me, and so many of my clients are really loving it too. So I'd encourage you to have a little look at those. So I'll just quickly summarise the 10 tips. We've got meal prep services, online grocery shopping, planning your meals, batch cooking, one-pot meals, frozen mixed fruit and veg, salad kits, no-cook protein, packet or jar sauces, and microwave protein soups. Now this is something that I spend so much time talking about with my clients, because so many of them tell me that time is their biggest barrier. They've all got like kids, busy jobs, active social lives. So being efficient really is so important. That's why the PNC program is really focused around efficiency. I want to make your nutrition as simple as possible and ensure that you get the most return on investment for every bit of time and effort that you put in. So if you do want to find out more about the PNC program, head over to Instagram. My handle is Peak Nutrition Coaching. If you DM me the word PNC, I'll send you over all the details. Or if you prefer, we can arrange a little chat and go through whether it's right for you. So I'll wrap it up there, and I will be back soon with another episode. God knows where I'll be.